It piqued my curiosity now. Have you heard anything about the basketball game?
We won 32-31. So yeah. They ended up winning the tournament, so that was good. Yeah. This was their final game for the weekend. So. Yeah, it's good.
We did too. I really enjoyed going. That's one thing.
Yeah, this one doesn't seem to. It might be the
The battery's bad, the light comes on.
Oh.
It doesn't stay on.
All right, here you go. However you want to do it. It's not on right now.
Okay.
So you just need to throw that switch, and then you'll be good to go.
Is anybody introducing?
Are you going to entertain questions?
We can, yeah, we absolutely will. And
Oh, that's wonderful. Then I'll just take the microphone. If somebody has some questions, I'll run around.
Okay.
If that's. Hi. I got a coffee table right here.
Dakota News Now again.
I know, again.
Yeah, it was on.
I missed that. Well, good morning. And thank you all for joining with us. I'm grateful for the adult ed ministry team and their work to bring wonderful offerings to our church. These last few weeks have really been wonderful, and it's been great to be able to figure out a way to broaden our scope and reach more people, including those who can't be in this physical space. It's been amazing to see how many people, and don't ask me how many because I can't remember offhand, but in the last few weeks, there have been a number of people joining with us online through our live stream, and so it's pretty cool. Again, I'm grateful. They tune in because of the work our adult ed community provides. So you all, I hope you know me. If you don't, that's my fault. My name's Nathan. I'm one of the pastors that serve our congregation. And to my right is?
I'm Phil DeGroat. I've been a member of the church for 16 years, I think. Yeah.
And Phil currently serves as one of our elders on session. It's one of his favorite meetings of the month.
I look forward to it every single month, yes.
But we were asked to share about session and currently some of the things that session is working through, and certainly some of the longer term hopes for our congregation. Also, Phil and I don't speak on behalf of session. We're speaking as two people who serve on our session, and so we're not speaking for another elder or another person, right. But we're trying to share from what our experience has been, and just from some of the recent discussions that we've shared together at session. And so, let's begin with a word of prayer that will at least get me a little settled here, I think. Let's pray. God, we are grateful for this day to gather together. We are reminded that you are with us where two or three are gathered, that you are there among them. I'm grateful that you have called us to share our lives together as a community, to share our lives with you, to impact the world around us. And so, God, we ask your blessing be with us and upon this time. We pray. Amen. And so one of the things that Phil and I met and we discussed, one of the things that the places to start, one of the places to start was with our mission and vision. This is my binder. Elders receive a binder like this. Mine has been tampered with, however, and I'm still trying to figure out the culprit. You see, someone went through and put lots of shreds of paper in. I'm sure I deserved it. I had it coming because I know who did it. But the statement we wanted to begin with today was to say that our mission and our vision and our values are very much still applicable and drive us and our ministry. And so if you haven't heard our vision, this is what is in our binder. This is our formal vision statement. First Presbyterian Church shares a vision to be present in the Sioux Falls area as the visible face of Christ. In this vision, the words of our mission statement take on clear direction and added dimension. We connect, serve, and grow with God and others within our congregation so that we may in turn connect, serve, and grow with God and others beyond ourselves, knowing that even as we strive to bear the face of Christ in our relationships with our neighbors, we will find the face of Christ in the very neighbors whom we serve. We continue to find those words compelling, and we continue to find those words, find that those words give spark and inspiration to what we do as a congregation. It has been a challenging couple of years. Pat and I had the chance to share a little bit several months ago, talking about the pandemic and how that has become quite the challenge to us and our ministry. And from a session perspective, it hasn't gone away, right? It hasn't gotten any easier. In fact, even as one of the things that we talk about in session is how to respond to the challenges of the pandemic, and it's become even more difficult now. Even though Omicron appears so far to be not as people aren't hit as hard by Omicron. We feel like everything around the pandemic has become increasingly difficult, and so some of our meetings are to talk about that and our response, and there have been some long meetings, and you may have noticed Phil responded in a really good way when I asked him. When I kind of said, I know session's your favorite night of the month. There are some long meetings, and there have been as a result of the pandemic and some of those weightier matters that come to the church, and it's session's job to discern what the church's response will be. And something that I often remind our elders of and to share with you today. As an elder, they don't represent you, right? They're not voting because they've heard so many have had this complaint, and so they're kind of coming to the table to represent all those points of views, right? Their job as an elder is to respond to Christ's call and to discern as a body, as individuals and as a body, as the ruling body in our congregation, how we should move forward. That doesn't mean we don't listen or that session isn't interested in what the congregation has to say, but it's the emphasis is on how we respond to the Spirit and God's call in our lives and in response to any and every situation. Would you agree, disagree?
I would agree. When I joined session, that was right before the pandemic. We had very good session meetings about our vision. We even had I guess it was a vision retreat, which was in town, which was good. But everything about that was our vision and where we saw the church and where we wanted the church to go. And then when March hit of 2020, it kind of flipped everything on end of what our session meetings were about. Then we hit a point where it was month to month as to how we're going to handle different things in church. And so we still kind of talk about vision, but a lot of our session meetings have kind of been dominated by what we need to do to get through things. And it'd be nice to get back to talking about our vision for the church.
And that's one thing that hit me when Phil and I spoke to talk about today. I asked him, how things are going, and he said something along those lines, and it hit me pretty hard because I want more of the engagement and discussion on vision and mission and what we can do as a community and what energizes us as a body. And to kind of hear, we've really been bogged down, or we've become bogged down, or we've allowed ourselves to become bogged down, or I've allowed the body to be, become, overwhelmed by a lot of these things. But I really want to get back to those discussions that are energizing, that elders get excited about when we come together as a group. I will say, as a church, we continue to try to do new things. That's something I've always enjoyed and appreciated about our congregation, that we take risks. Those risks don't always pan out, and we're quick to pull back and huddle together and respond and go a new direction. But I really appreciate that this congregation at least has given us, the leadership in the church, the leeway to try new things. One of those things, looking back, was the worship and word service that happened, that we planned in the fall to take place in the chapel. It was interrupted. That we haven't canceled that service. It was interrupted by the pandemic. But I really appreciate the sense that God is alive and well. And we have tended to be a program-driven church, and our programs for many years have been what has driven us as a church. And yet, to be able to be nimble and to be able to have this awareness that there is something, that the Spirit of God is at work among us, and we can try to respond and do something new and fun. I really do appreciate that as a church. I hope you do too. I hope that behind that is a hope that if you have an idea, if you have something that's been burning within you to bring to life in the church, that as a leadership, from a leadership's perspective, that we can come alongside and empower that and really support you in your call to do what you feel Christ is leading you to do. That's a big part of that. We, in light of the pandemic, we've also been working with the blessing of our building, right? We have a wonderful facility. It's also a challenge to maintain and to keep up, and to balance and to keep all things balanced, right? To be mindful of our finances, and to make sure that we're being good stewards of our money and of the money that's entrusted to us, and that we're being good stewards of this building. And so one of the, over the last couple of years, we've been very open to outside groups coming into the church and using our space. And that's one way that we feel that we can be faithful and good stewards of our building, is to open up a bit more, and really try to shine a light on our presence in our community where we are. Very few people still know where is your church? Where's First Presbyterian Church? They're not sure. A lot of folks I find don't know where First Presbyterian Church is located. And so it's been great to open up our doors. And so you'll hear there's a Pentecostal group. You guys aren't probably unfamiliar with the Pentecostal group who comes here, meets on Wednesday nights and later on Sunday afternoons. And they actually are a Spanish-speaking congregation with Honduras roots, which is kind of neat. We have a Korean congregation that continues to partner with us and utilize our space. The YMCA is a group that uses our gymnasium. We have a homeschool group that uses a number of classrooms, and as well as our gym. Help me with the Southwest, right? Southwest Behavioral, right? Did I get that right? Yeah. I need my second cup of coffee. They also rent space from us and use our gym. And we one of the things that's exciting, we actually have a recent opportunity to open up our doors even more. And I'm going to let you share a little bit about that.
Yes, we were approached. Heidi Cruz was taking a video of Owen working out down in our in the gym.
Oh, Owen's a sixth grader?
Yeah.
That's there. If you don't know Heidi, Owen is
red hair.
Her son. Brett,
Go
ahead.
No. And she had put it on Facebook because I think his YMCA team or Big Sioux team, they practice. I think they rent the gym and then they practice down there. But she had put it on Facebook, and it got into or was seen by Shane Hennon, who Shane Hennon is one of the kind of top basketball kind of practice guys in Sioux Falls, along with Cole Sabers. And Owen works out a little bit with Shane. But he approached Heidi about the idea of after having seen the carpeted floor and not so great basketball hoops, of partnering with us and potentially renting that space, which would then allow us to maybe renovate it and upgrade it. And so we and this has all come together within like the past 3 weeks. So I went and met with Cole and Shane because I know them as well. And kind of got an idea as to what they were looking for, what they wanted to do, and make sure that it would be something that would potentially work for us. And so then I talked with Denny, which is Owen's, Denny Erickson, and Denny went out and he has started the process of getting estimates on potential new flooring for the gym. And I've contacted somebody about getting potential basketball hoops put in the gym. And then once we kind of get all those estimates, we bring it forward and work with Shane and Cole on them leasing the gym. There was some conversation of maybe them putting money, giving us money and then trying to figure that out. But if schedules don't work out or something happens, I said it's better for you guys to rent our gym as opposed to you guys putting any sort of capital money into our facility. And they agreed with that. And so what we've kind of discussed is probably a for sure 6-month lease with them. We'd figure out calendar times. They're pretty busy in the summer. which I don't think our gym gets used as much in the summer as it does during our programming year, but then also mostly at night. And I think if we can figure out that schedule, and they'd be for sure 6 months, but I envision them, their big grand idea is to have their own space, but it's going to take them time to get there. They're both pretty young. So if it works, and the only thing that I potentially see not working is potentially calendar and them not getting enough time, but I think we can make it work. I would see them being in here for sure 12 to 18 months. And kind of on that lease amount, I think it would get, I would say 75% of the upgrade done. The great side part of that is they have a lot of kids work out with them. They do a lot of stuff on Instagram and YouTube. Shane usually, a lot of his Instagram stuff has over 1 million views. And so that'd be over 1 million views of our church gym. But then the other big thing is there would be a lot of kids coming into our facility and knowing where First Presbyterian Church is. Back to Nate's point, I had to go pick up Sydney, who was at first base over by Sonia Sotomayor, and a friend of mine, also who I work with, was with me, and he has 2 brothers that go to Augustana, and so he knows this area. And we were driving on the east side of church, and I said, "Well, that's our church right there." And he said, "Oh, I thought those were apartment buildings." And so that kind of opened my eyes of do people really know we're here, right? And we're only 2-3 blocks from Augustana. When I tell people where our church is, I said, the Augie softball diamonds, a block north, and that's where we're at. And so when you hear something like that and go, this is a person who has been in this area and didn't know, and if they're only going down that street, they don't see this beautiful part of our church. They only see that beautiful part of our church, which does look like either office buildings or potentially apartments. And so I think one of the nice things about potentially doing this is we'll have a bunch of young families getting to know at least where our church is. Now, will that mean they'll start coming to our church? Who knows? There's potential, but at least they'll know where our church is at. And so that I'm kind of excited for that. That gym kind of needs to be renovated, and we're looking at the renovation of it to be. There's a pickleball league down there. And so we're going to make sure we facilitate with pickleball and that the courts work for pickleball. That was one of the first things I did, when I talked with Shane and Cole was we do have a pickleball, league on Tuesday nights, and we need to make sure the court works for that and for them.
By the way, did you know we have a pickleball league on Tuesday nights? All are welcome. That's really good.
We're up to 8 to 10 people.
That's really good.
Yeah,
that's
great.
Great.
Awesome. And so that was the one of the things of scheduling and working out schedules with them is Tuesday night we have pickleball, Wednesday night we have Wednesday night our Wednesday night youth group, but we're kind of out of there by 6:30 and then they could come in. But I think if we can work out schedules with them, I think that would be a great start. And we talk in session a lot of the building, and a lot of it when I first started session was what all needs to be fixed, and we needed a new air conditioner and boiler and Wi-Fi and the floor down in the kitchen downstairs, and we've kind of gradually have gotten a lot of things taken care of. And so something like this, which can bring an added benefit to the church, but it's not necessarily as structural or mechanical. It's more aesthetic, I guess, but I think it has the potential to be very beneficial to our church and our vision in moving forward.
And I would agree. And I think the interactions that we have with people, the connections that we have, I think those mean more than we know. And particularly when we think about what it means to be a part of a church today, it means something different to all of us. And I'm grateful, extremely grateful for the regular Sunday attendees who are here or who those who join with us online every Sunday and who are just faithfully a part of, very much a part of, and active in our ministry. I'm also quite aware that those folks who come once or twice or 3 or 4 times a year, those interactions matter greatly, and it's. As I shared in this morning's worship, my son was playing basketball at 8 a.m. this morning. Phil's son plays at 10 this morning, right? The reality is that life is going to become more and more, become increasingly full, and it's going to become harder to engage people on a faithful, regular level. And so I'm thinking of those interactions that we have with people who come into our doors for something that might not be a main ministry of our church, something like the basketball opportunity, and just that opportunity to have an interaction with one person or 2 or 3. I think those encounters matter a lot more than we realize, than I sometimes think, and they will become more important as we move forward. I had a conversation. We had a group outing, a church gathering at Vinyl Taco this past week. It was a lot of fun, and I had the chance to have a conversation with someone. They introduced themselves to me as, hi, you might not know me, and now I'm scratching my head. I really want to make sure I try to know this person. You might not know me. I'm one of your Christmas and Easter people, right? I think they wanted to get that out of the way, I think. But you know what? I thought that interaction mattered, and the fact that they see us as their church, the one that we are their church, even if it's just for Christmas and Easter. That's significant to me, and I don't think we should devalue. I think those things matter. Those interactions matter. As our focus going forward for the year has been and will continue to be around connections. A lot of what we've done has been kind of sparked by our interim business manager, Jennifer Swanson. There was a bowling event in the fall. Vinyl Taco was another one. We have the Young and the Restless coming up on February 20th. The rest of us. What did I say?
Restless.
You said Young and the Restless.
Oh, that's what I was saying in my mind, and it didn't come out. Man, but especially in light of the pandemic, the connections that we have are really significant, and they matter. We need you did a wonderful job announcing that and sharing that, and we need that right now as much as we are able and feel comfortable doing. We need to rekindle those connections within the church, and from a leadership standpoint, we're working hard to reach outward to those with whom we haven't been connected, and it's tough. It's tough. It's challenging work to reach out to those that you don't see on a regular basis. It's challenging to know what all is going on in people's lives. People are overwhelmed and stressed in many ways, and we often don't hear about it. And so that will be our focus going forward, to connect, provide opportunities to connect within our body, and to do as good a job as we are able to care for those in our congregation. And speaking of connection, This isn't public information yet, but we have an app. Some of you actually may have heard that we have an app, and you may have already downloaded it on your phone. I didn't announce it. I was going to announce it today in church, but we're not quite ready. But you can. You can download it. You guys can help us. If you do download it on your phone, give us good feedback. Help us to know any troubles that you encounter or anything that might be helpful to have on the app.
So this is the beta app?
Yeah. This is the beta. You are our beta group.
I used it this morning in church.
If you go to
Yep.
your phone, what?
I used it this morning in church. Yeah.
Tell us what it is for those of us who know.
Well, if you are you familiar with apps and how to download apps on your phone? If you're not, if you're not, we're glad to help with that. But go, if you have whatever phone you have, go to your app store and type in FPC Sioux Falls, and it should bring up. I'd show you my screen, but it's so small. It should bring up this shape, a smaller picture of our logo. You should see the triangle and the lines coming down, and it should say FPC Sioux Falls. And you download that, and then you can open it up, and there are events there. We've started populating events. Not all events.
If you can see it.
Yeah, not all events that we have going on in the church are there. We're still trying to get groups trained up to know how to, and even our staff to know how to post events on the app. It does have a live stream button, which right now only takes us to our website, where you can view whatever live stream messages are currently being shown or have been recorded. There's a connect button, which helps you connect with us. There's a form. It's kind of like our orange connection sheet. It'll take you to a form where that you can fill out, that anyone can fill out, and along with all our social media. There's a children button, a Presby youth button, which both connect back to our website, and then a give button. And we will be transitioning from PayPal to a company that partners with Subsplash, and Subsplash is the entity that helped us create this app. So and it's.
Is there a way then, when you use that app to make a payment or to give or to whatever?
Could I get her a question?
Yeah. Could you say your question again?
Could
Carrie?
you?
Yes.
So in the app, is there a way that we can designate where our giving goes? Like if we want to make a special offering or a memorial or?
Well, yeah, actually, let's all open the app right now. Type in your information. And, say, let's throw out 500,000?
500,000? Yeah.
500, or, no, I'm just kidding.
I only put in 10.
That's what it looks like.
I jest. But that's a really good question. You can,
That way you can see.
you can designate. It's been a while since because I did do a test of this, and jokingly, whenever I set this up with Jennifer, that one of the designated options for designation was pastor's discretionary fund, right? But that's not there. I wanted to see what if folks would see that and just chuckle about it a little bit. But yes, my point is that we can pretty much set that up, and the program is very flexible. We can set that up to include as many designations as we need.
Here's another question.
Would this include groups like, could Peaceworks be on that? So
Yeah.
it could send out messages and stuff?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and so we find that one of the hopes that we have is, especially for those folks who find Sunday mornings tough. You know, half of my family's not here right now. But this can be a helpful tool for staying connected and knowing what's going on in the life of the church. It can also help you maintain your giving, you know, the contribution that you pledge to make, and it can help you stay on top of that. And you can set it up so that it can automatically take place, and a gift can be given even though you might not be able to be here.
It's a work in progress, though, much like any app. But I think as time goes on, it'll get better and better.
There's a place to put comments.
In the app, through Contact Us, you'd be able to, yeah.
And if you can't find it, you can also just send them to me. If you have challenges or questions, and I can, I'll do my best to answer them. So.
It's easy to download.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just looked around
Just a
the
second.
room.
Just a second.
There's a lot of us that are not tech knowledge. So everything that has been said the last 5 minutes means absolutely nothing to me. And I wonder what percent of the congregation really doesn't have the ability to even do that, or watch us on their TV or on their computer. And if we're being taken for granted, and I guess I'll bring up, communication is really important. I don't have any, and I've been a member of this church a long time, I have no idea what session is doing, because session members aren't printed anymore. The session minutes aren't printed anymore. So I can't even go into the library to read what session has done. Without a clerk of session, I'm challenging that something is done along those lines.
We need a clerk of session.
We have been asking around. The hard part is nobody's really been willing to be a clerk.
Along the same line, I'm learning a lot of new stuff today in this class of what's going on in this building. There's no bulletin. So I had no idea these groups were meeting, where if we went back to having a bulletin, we could communicate with everybody that at least attends church.
Yeah, that means the question of communication is a really good one. Early on when the pandemic first hit, we did a really quick transition pivot to recording everything we did. Most everything was recorded and somehow uploaded onto the web, and eventually we got to the point where we could do a live stream. Through that process, we found that there were many folks that weren't able, for lots of reasons, to access the live stream. And we worked with, we tried our best to work with people and bring people together to help bridge those gaps. So if someone had, who isn't necessarily tech savvy, had trouble, where do I go? How do I make it work? What about the sound? Sound is often an issue with computers and devices, and we can't control how things work at home, in your home or anyone's home. And so we found that some of our work was reaching out to people, connecting members who maybe had an extra iPad, who could safely go and visit with a person and help guide them through. It didn't always work, but we became aware of that and tried our best to
How about a class?
work through it. Yeah, and that's actually a really good opportunity.
Are you talking about a class for how to access the technical end of?
I agree. We as session need to make sure our minutes do get out there. I was clerk this past session meeting. I have not been back to church to sign it, so maybe that's why this past one has not been printed and put in there.
It can't be signed until you.
Right. And so we're working through that. But yes, minutes are being taken, and we need to do a better job of getting them put out there. Right. I'm agreeing. Yes.
The last session put in the book was when there was a clerk session. Since then, none of them have been put into the book.
And I
We know that,
understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm admitting that we need to get that done. The minutes have been being taken by different people on session at the meeting and being approved. And we also have occasionally had issues of maybe not having enough people at session meetings for whatever reason. And so we haven't been able to necessarily approve some minutes. But I think a majority of them have now been approved, and we just need to get them printed, signed, and into the book. A bulletin, I personally would like to have a bulletin in church too, as opposed to trying to find it on my phone and pull it up. But so I do agree with you on that as well. Like a bulletin would be nice, a paper one. But it is we do send out the email in the messenger, and you can navigate to print a bulletin off there if you would like as well.
So I have two observations. One of them is about the visibility of the church. I've had so many people say to me, well, where is that church? Because we're tucked into a neighborhood. And so a lot of people aren't aware that we're here. So I totally agree with that.
Right.
Anything to give us more visibility.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was thinking about is the streaming has been wonderful, and maybe we're going to continue it. But I think especially a lot of 8:30 people are maybe getting so comfortable that they can stay home that they are not coming back. And so I hope that's not going to be the case, because it would be nice to be able to continue it, even when the pandemic's over.
I had a conversation with someone, another pastor, who made an interesting comment to me. He said something like, yeah, we are doing a lot of live streaming too, but I'm not trying to make it too good, you know? and that kind of hit me in an interesting way, because, you know, it is, I think we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and that's very real. However, there will be a time when, at least I hope, I anticipate there will be a time when there will be more freedom and more opportunity for folks to gather together, to be together again safely in worship. And I just hope that is a greater invitation and draw than perhaps the idea of sitting in our easy chair and enjoying the hard work that we do on our live stream. And David's done a great job. David is the person, David and Jeff and Matt, our sound, who tend to be our sound people for our sound and AV folks for 8:30. They've done a tremendous job. And so I can't say how excited I am about our live stream without mentioning other names.
I've just heard people say that it's just so tempting to stay home when you can watch it in your jammies.
Right,
I know it. Yeah.
I do think, I mean, even when the pandemic is over, though, I do think having the ability to record these and have them, you know, like Sunday school, if somebody can't make it to adult education. I teach or help teach kindergartners when I'm not with one of my kids doing whatever, you know, sports stuff, because Annie needs a break. As well, because she's the other person that I teach with. So this is probably the first ever adult ed that I've been to, because I've been down there for the past 7 or 8 years teaching Sunday school. So it is nice to have this out on our different platforms to be able to go watch. And you know, if somebody goes on vacation, and when they get up, they have the ability to either go back and watch it or even watch it on vacation. And so I think having this, I mean, we're going to keep it because I think it's a good addition to our church. But yes, I agree. A lot of people, I hope, do come back, because there is a big difference between sitting on your couch and watching it and actually coming and being in church and in person.
The other side of that is, I probably would not be able to come to this church most of the winter if you didn't have it. So this is the future. I don't know if we can ever go back. I don't want to go back to a wringer washer. I like my automatic washing machine.
Right.
I don't want to go back to wood furnaces. So, it's going to be hard, but how do we help people come along? Another statement is there not any signage on the west side? Can that be put up?
There is, and that's a good opportunity. I believe there is the glass doors have our logo there, but I don't believe
It's
Well,
they're not easy to see from the street.
Sanford has blue lights. Why can't we have lights on the building on the west side?
That's
Think outside of the box.
that's something. Something as a session member, yeah, we can look
Just one
into
other
as a
comment, and I'll
sign
give
on the
another
side.
chance.
Yeah.
How about the basement? All of that's not, can we have a daycare? Can we get that better used?
Yeah.
Kinder Music is down there.
Yep.
Whoops, Kinder Music uses that, and there's other,
Yeah, Kinder Music does have their own room.
Yeah.
Yep.
and the
That-
kids use it.
Yep. The question of a preschool or something of the like has been discussed on and off through the throughout the past several years. Yeah, we're certainly open to all opportunities to work with groups who would really benefit from a space like ours. We early on in the pandemic, midway, we had a group who was a homeschool group who was very averse to mask wearing, and so they were looking for a corner of the building or a part of the building that they could use and not be, and be a group and not be encumbered, not have to worry about masks. A couple months later, we had a group who were just frustrated, who were just super pro-mask. So these are some of the discussions that this didn't make it this session, but they're like, we're looking for a spot where our group can safely gather, and we're like, holy cow! Like what? I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity, and I think the more that we open to just have all these groups engage us, and to know that there are groups seeking opportunities where they can gather in a nice space. That one was I found that one to be very interesting and just kind of highlighted some of the challenges that we've faced as a church. But going forward, I think we are positioned well to have a presence and connection in our community with various groups and people. I like that. I like trying to work with people and groups.
One thing I would like to recommend is for those of you that are here and those of you that are watching at home, any ideas, I mean, even if you think they're dumb ideas, just put them on paper or send a text to Nate or Pat or somebody in the church office. And out of this abundance of suggestions, we'll be able to forge a kind of a new way forward, a hybrid church experience. And I think sometimes they hear the people that call or stop into the office, but they can't read your mind, what you would like to have your church look like. So be sure and write it down, just like Cal. If you're frustrated, let us know. That's the most important thing you can do.
And along those lines, it works well to sandwich. So if you see something that you like or enjoy, don't let it just be the negative and the critical. If you see something you like and enjoy, let us know. What often happens in churches and organizations, I think, too, is you hear what doesn't work, right? You hear, like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? I hear this, my boys are all in youth sports. And so, like, a text came through this morning about a parent who was angry because of something that happened. I wasn't there. I don't know. But that tends to be what you hear as organizations. You hear the negative, you hear the critical. We don't hear the positive enough. I'm not saying that, I'm echoing what you're saying, but also just, it means a lot, for Dan or Ben, for Pat, Kathy, Eric, to hear those words of affirmation. And we try to pass them along, too. So.
I just have a comment about the streaming. Having had a husband who couldn't come to church, we love streaming, even though we couldn't be here. And I think about the number of people in our congregation who are not able to go to church. Yeah. And I believe that we're adult learners. As adults, we continually learn. And I am amazed. I have a 97-year-old friend who texts me, who downloads things, and she'll say sometimes, well, I missed your text. It's like, well, you're 97 years old, and But I'm amazed. All of us walk around with these phones. All of us do. And maybe a class to help us learn how to use some of the things that are on the phone, because I know that I can't do everything. And I'll go back to a story when my grandson, he's in college now, but he was 5 years old, and we were working at the computer, and he wanted something. And I couldn't get it. And he said to me, whatever you do, don't double click. Now this is 5 years old. But I mean, we have to understand, I think it's beautiful that at a time when I cannot come to church or be at church exactly at the time when church is happening, that I can stream it at my convenience. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I like is, in fact, I look forward to this every week when my email comes about prayer needs in the church. And I mean, I print that list off, and that becomes part of my devotions. And I know it does for a lot of people. And sometimes it's somebody I don't even know. But I think I'm challenged by how the Spirit works, and that I would even have the ability to pray for somebody I don't know. So I think that's really cool. And then my last thing is, do we have any idea the number of people who do stream?
We do. That is information that Facebook, Vimeo, and YouTube all post and provide for us. Vimeo, some of you are familiar with Vimeo, some might not. Vimeo is a lesser known online video media provider. It's similar in a lot of ways to YouTube.
There's one person watching at home right now of adult ed.
But I don't have those numbers with me, but we do routinely look at them, and almost always we are overwhelmed by the number of people who join with us online. And it goes, especially I think through Facebook, it goes beyond the Sioux Falls community.
I know that I have looked at things in the middle of the week because I missed the streaming, and so I'll go back on Thursday, and because they're put in the archives and you can pull it back up, and there were like 128 people that had watched a specific class, and I'm going, really?
Right.
That's a lot more than we've ever had.
And
That's
just on that platform
that's
too.
just on Facebook.
Right,
that's not
on
the
Facebook.
First Presbyterian website,
Right, it's
or
not,
Vimeo or any,
YouTube, yeah. And so I think once you start adding them all up, our outreach has grown a lot since being able to
We
live
have
stream.
one more question, and then we'll have to.
Did you have a question?
Oh,
I thought you had
anybody
your
else?
hand. I think Oh,
Does that need to be communicated?
it should, yeah.
Yes, we should do a better job of communicating, because when I think it was our second message after live, or second session meeting after live streaming, it was brought to session, how, the impact that live streaming had and who was all watching. And was it Dan Graber had like over 2,000 views or something on one of his, and it was big, and that's why it was decided to invest some money into the cameras to make it better. Maybe we made it too better. They're too good that people are staying home in their pajamas with their coffee. He is a big deal. That's right. That's right. I know other Grabers from his hometown. Yes, he's a big deal.
Yeah, he is a big deal.
The church has received a rather large amount of money. Has session discussed that, and have they made any decisions yet?
It's already been spent. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see. I shouldn't joke like that.
We haven't. We have talked a little. We've had some suggestions come in. It was such a large dollar amount that was a little bit overwhelming as to and how best to spend it, because it was something that doesn't have any restrictions on. We can kind of use it wherever. Which then tasks us with making sure we utilize it in the best manner possible. And so it's gone back to the bank and has been invested. And so we're just, I think we're right now in our session meetings, we're trying to get month to month. This past session meeting was almost all pandemic related. And once we kind of get out of that and start getting into more of back to vision talk, I think that's when we'll have more conversations as to how best to utilize that gift.
Yeah, and it's exciting to have that as something that we can dream about. And Judy mentioned earlier, if you do have ideas that you would like to share with session, and especially in light of the monies that you referenced that we are discerning how to best use. If you have ideas, suggestions, ideas for ministries, we've received several, and we really want to do our diligence and discern and use that money well, so that it's just not a one and done. Mm-hmm. But that it continues to bless us and our ministry down the road.
Okay, I think we're going to have to let them go. I know that we have another service here that people have to be involved with.
My girls might be standing outside too.
So let's thank Nathan and Phil for filling in this morning, and I think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg, so we'll be having more of these kind of sessions as time goes on.
And if you're wondering, we both decided to shave our heads for this morning.
Just for today, yes.
Just for today.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.